Channel 1 News Hour begins right now. Good evening and welcome to the most comprehensive and incisive bulletin right here on Channel 1 News Hour. Well, around 2 months ago, we reported our first coronavirus case in Kenya. As we stand today, we crossed over to around 700. Well, how do the figures look like? Well, if we begin with the tested cases in the last 24 hours are 841, and out of those, 28 people have been confirmed to positive. And this is where, actually, you see it's green, of course, to give us hope, because 12 people have recovered from the virus that, of course, has decimated the whole world. But how, as a globe, are we doing? Well, and according to Johns Hopkins University in Maryland, actually a lot has changed in the last 1 week. Remember the last time on Monday, such a Monday, we were talking about 3 point something coronavirus cases. But looking at the statistics now, the graph seems to be on the upward because we have 4.2 million or 4,221,369. We have registered, unfortunately, 284 deaths, 833. But this is where the key is. 1.5 million people have recovered. Almost, let's say, almost a quarter of all the cases that have been reported. But when we go to the countries themselves, the United States still is leading, making the biggest bunch of 1.3 million people who have actually tested positive for the coronavirus. Spain, UK, Russia, Italy, and I can tell you for a fact Italy is doing quite well. The mitigation, some of the things that they are doing right now, they are really helping. Let's have a look at where it's originated. China is at a distant 11 with 82,918. Of course, we don't have the time, but we can have a look at Africa, where South Africa and Egypt are leading, and other countries like Algeria and Morocco are also leading in Africa. Well, that's how the graph looks at the moment, but we have a much more comprehensive report on corona. And today we will not start with the coronavirus, we will start with politics. Well, Jubilee politics. Indeed, this and much more after the highlights.
The decision to remove myself and Senator Kihika as Majority Leader and Majority Whip is therefore null and void.
New blood in Senate Jubilee leadership, as Kipchumba Murkomen is replaced by KANU's Samuel Pogisho as leader of majority.
We have tested 841 samples, out of which 28 have tested positive for coronavirus.
A threat from long-distance truck drivers, as 9 who had crossed to Tanzania test positive for the coronavirus.
I, Robert Kariuki Kibochi, Chief of the Kenya Defence Forces, do swear in the name of the Almighty God that I will be faithful and bear true allegiance to the Republic of Kenya.
And the new boss at the Kenya Defence Forces helm, General Robert Kibochi, sworn in to take over from Samson Mwadede. We are live from the broadcasting house here in Nairobi. Of course, you can get in touch with us via our various social media platforms at KBC Channel 1 News, at Ben Troy Njue. The hashtag is NewsHour. Of course, we are also live on YouTube, on www.kbc.co.ke, and also on Facebook. Just send some of your comments, or even where you're watching us from, and definitely I will sample some of your comments in the middle or at the tail end of this broadcast. Well, we do begin with the politics. My name is Ben Troy Njue, and Byron Abuli is our sign language interpreter for this night. Well, we begin with politics, where political wrangles in the ruling Jubilee Party took another turn on Monday after 20 senators voted to remove Kipchumba Murkomen and Susan Kihika as majority leader and whip, respectively. A Jubilee Parliamentary Group meeting at State House in Nairobi settled on West Pokot County Senator Samuel Pogisho and his Murang'a counterpart Irungu Kang'ata as the duo replacements. The changes have, however, drawn mixed reactions from a section of senators, with those opposing terming the move as null and void, and the changes are not anchored in the party's constitution nor in the Senate standing orders.
Succession politics in the ruling Jubilee Party appear to have claimed its first high-ranking casualties in Parliament. A Jubilee Parliamentary Group meeting at State House, Nairobi, chaired by President Uhuru Kenyatta and attended by 20 senators from the Jubilee Party and Kenya National Union (KANU), resolved to relieve Elgeyo Marakwet Senator Kipchumba Murkomen and his Nakuru counterpart Susan Kihika of their roles within the Senate leadership. West Pokot Senator Samuel Pogisho has been named the new Senate Majority Leader, replacing Murkomen. He will be deputized by Fatuma Dulo Hassan of Isiolo County. Murang'a Senator Irungu Kang'ata was elevated to the position of Majority Whip from Deputy Majority Whip, replacing Nakuru Senator Susan Kihika. Nominated Senator Faria Ali Haji is the new Deputy Majority Whip.
Any holder of an office should know that that office comes with expectations, and it also comes with respect. The previous holders of those offices, absolutely, they had no respect. They even had no vision. I believe they had no vision that we as Jubilee believe in, because most of the time you would see them contradicting the party position.
Murkomen and Kihika are, however, defiant, vowing to stay put, arguing that the changes are illegal.
Tumekubaliana kama wana Jubilee 22 kati ya wale ambao ni wana Jubilee 35 ya kwamba wale ambao hatukuhudhuria hiyo mkutano, ambao mkutano hatukuitwa na hatukuambiwa kuna agenda ya kutoa mtu yoyote. Sisi maseneta 22 tumeandikia spika wa seneti, tukaambia ya kwamba hatukuhudhuria mkutano wowote na hatutasupport chochote ambaye ya kuondoa watu.
And like somebody said, these are not things that you just do that way, and we must follow the law. So what we are saying, going forward, it is null and void whatever they purport to have done this morning.
Political analyst Martin Andati further terms the changes as a response to the ongoing defiance against the presidency by a section of Jubilee Party leaders allied to the deputy president.
The president is basically telling the Tangatanga group that he's still the boss. There can only be one boss at a time, you know. So the message is very clear that they either shape up or ship out.
The changes come days after the Jubilee Party entered into a post-election coalition with KANU and another alliance with Wiper Democratic Party said to be in the offing. For Channel 1 News, I am Edward Kabasa.
And long-distance truck drivers plying Tanzania route are now a threat to the Kenyan fight against the coronavirus pandemic. And according to Monday statistics from the Ministry of Health, all the 9 cases that tested positive for the coronavirus in Kajiado County were truck drivers returning from Tanzania through the Namanga border. The 9 are among 28 new cases reported in the country in the last 24 hours, and bringing the total number of confirmed cases to 700 since the first case was confirmed in the country in March. Purity Musel with that report.
Kajiado County recorded 9 more coronavirus cases on Monday out of the 28 confirmed cases registered in the country within 24 hours, raising the country's COVID-19 tally to 700.
We have tested 841 samples, out of which 28 have tested positive for coronavirus. The 9 cases from Kajiado are all Kenyan truck drivers who are returning from Tanzania and tested at the Namanga border point. These 9 cases were positive among the other drivers that were tested.
Health Chief Administrative Secretary Dr. Rashid Aman said all the 9 cases in Kajiado are from Kenyan truck drivers returning from Tanzania, raising concerns on cross-border infection.
At the same time of testing truck drivers at Namanga, on the Kenyan sides, that's the Kenyan drivers, we also test Tanzanian drivers who are intending to enter Kenya through that border. We provide a service to them They are sampled while they are on their side of the border, and we conduct the test. 5 of those Tanzanian drivers who are on their side of the border waiting to enter Kenya were found to be positive.
The new cases raised to 17 the total number of coronavirus cases registered in Kajiado. Wajir, also a border county bordering Somalia, accounted for 2 new cases, bringing to 11 the number of confirmed cases in that county. Mombasa and Nairobi accounted for 10 and 7 cases respectively. Those who tested positive in Nairobi within the last 24 hours are 3 from Kenyatta National Hospital, 2 from Embakasi, while Kibra and Pumwani recorded 1 case each. In Mombasa, Mvita had 3 cases, while Changamwe, Kisaone and Nyali recorded 2 each, with Likoni registering 1 case. The country also reported 1 death in Nairobi over a similar period, bringing to 33 the number of people who have died from the virus.
I want to appeal to Kenyans to come out when we go out for testing campaigns, and we will be stepping up these testing campaigns very soon. We shall inform you where we shall be setting up camp, and we want to encourage Kenyans to present themselves.
Meanwhile, 12 more people were discharged from hospital, bringing the total number of recoveries to 251. As the country enters the 3rd month of the COVID-19 crisis, shortage of COVID-19 testing reagents continue to frustrate government's efforts to conduct mass testing on its population, making it harder to know the actual figures of people who could be carrying the virus. Purity Museo, Channel 1 News, Nairobi.
Moving on, Eastleigh's Estate Section 3 area was on Monday morning a battlefield between police and protesters opposed to the restriction of movement in the estate by the government in a bid to curb the spread of COVID-19. A section of residents protested the directive, saying it negatively impacted their lives and businesses.
This is what befell a section of Eastleigh residents protesting the government's restriction of movement in the estate. Security agencies Monday did not allow movement of people from Section 3 to Sections 2 and 1 of Eastleigh.
Most of the people you're seeing around here are just but employees who used to work within the rest of Eastleigh. And now that we have a lockdown in that area, there is no accessibility to that particular area. Most of them come from Kiambio, as far as Kayole, through Kiambio, Fire Section 3. And we are trying to manage that because, as of now, it's all about their lives, not about food, it's about their lives.
The protesters claimed the restriction of movement has not augured well for their livelihoods.
Msaada ndio inafika tukatai, lakini si wenyewe hatupati. Wenye wanapewa msaada wanachukua na sisi hawatupati. Hiyo ndio kenye tumekuja kulilia hapa. Tafadhali tusaidie tu, si wenye tuko na watoto.
We are paying tax. So tukifunga biashara yetu, watu wasifanye kazi, wako kwa nyumba, watakuwa nini? Je, hiyo si ungwana?
Miraa siku hizi inashukishiwa majengo, kuitoa pale majengo before ufike Eastleigh. Inatake kwa kila road block ile ambao unapita lazima ulipe 200 ama 100. Kama mama ni mjamzito na atawekwa hapo kwa road block ati sababu hata 50 ama 100, hiyo unaona tunaumia.
What they are just aggravated by is something which has been managed, something which has been handled, and something that is under control as of now.
But not all residents were opposed to the directive, saying those insisting on moving be subjected to tests for coronavirus.
Idadi ya corona ilikuwa inaongezeka sana Eastleigh. Na hiyo si ati ni Wasomali ndio walikuwa wanapimwa, ilikuwa ni Wabara ndio walikuwa wanapimwa na watu wengine kutoka Kariobangi, Mathare. Hakuna Msomali amepimwa kupatikana na corona. Na tangu sasa kwa na lockdown, umeona idadi venye imepungua.
Eastleigh, one of the county's largest business hubs, has come under sharp focus in the war against COVID-19, with the rising number of people from the estate testing positive for coronavirus. Security agencies have vowed to stay put in the fight against COVID-19, leaving Kenyans who would like to access Eastleigh Section 2 and Section 3 with limited options. It is now a wait-and-see situation on how the government and Kenyans will work together to prioritize the fight against COVID-19. Irene Mchuma Odim, Channel 1 in Eastleigh, Nairobi County.
And still on cessation of movement, the government is appealing to residents of Mombasa Old Town that is under lockdown to avail themselves for COVID-19 test. Interior Chief Administrative Secretary Hussein Dado said if residents in the confined area cooperate with the government, normalcy will quickly be restored. Dado was speaking at Old Town in Mombasa during an assessment tour of the lockdown orders.
Dado says the directives by the government are not meant to punish the residents, but to flatten the coronavirus pandemic curve in the area that has been mapped out by the government. Dado using the opportunity to appeal to all locals to come out and be tested so that they can resume their normalcy.
Ikiendelea namna hii, serikali yenu yenye huruma itaanza kurelax mambo kama sehemu zingine. Lakini watu washirikiane kabisa, wasiwe na hofu na wale wasisikie pere nyingi za watu ambao hawana wakati isipokuwa ni kuweka negative kila kitu.
Coast Regional Commissioner Johnny Lungata, who had accompanied Dado, hailed the response from Old Town, terming it encouraging, adding that a number of economic interventions have been put in place, including enlisting young people in cleaning of the area.
Kwa wale ambao wanatoka Mombasa kwenda kwingine, kama kuna dharura utakwenda, lakini kwa masharti fulani. Hakuna mtu atapita panya route, na zile panya routes ambazo tulikuwa tunazungumzia juu yake hapo mapema zilifungwa. Na kile kwa yule ambaye atakuwa ametoroka na kuingia katika sehemu nyingine, tunauliza wale wenyeji wake wamuulize amekuja kwa uzuri ama amekuja kwa ubaya.
Elungata said the testing of long-distance truck drivers is ongoing, and those accessing the port of Mombasa will have to produce a health certificate to be cleared. Reporting for Channel 1 News from Mombasa County, I'm Michael Mwandiga.
Elsewhere, the government has reduced the cost of coronavirus tests for restaurants and eateries from 4,000 shillings to 1,000 shillings per employee. Tourism Cabinet Secretary Najib Balala, however, said the food outlets will shoulder the responsibility of coming up with standard operating procedures that comply with the protocols published by the Health Ministry on social distancing and hygiene. The CS further warned that hotel accommodation is still closed and will only reopen once a set of protocols are given.
Several weeks after the government gave a green light to eateries in the country to resume operations, business is yet to pick up. In some restaurants, doors were still closed with the chairs turned upside down. Others had the furniture covered in canvas, perhaps a sign that they will remain closed for a long time. For those restaurants that have opened their doors, only takeaway services are offered.
Right now, I'm just operating with 3 people, whereby I operate with more than 10 employees, because even they have 2 shifts. On a normal day, they have 2 shifts.
Some of the proprietors attributed the sorry state of affairs to the high cost of testing staff for coronavirus.
Hapa tunawahudumu kama 84 na kuongea ukweli, kila mmoja anapimiwa kwa 10,000. So tunaona sana tunatatisika sana kwa ajili ya kupima kila mtu.
Their pleas elicited a positive reaction from the government, which Monday announced a reduction in the cost for coronavirus test for restaurant and eateries employees.
The actual cost of tasting cost up to 4,000 Kenya shillings, but we have subsidized as government because we want to support the economy.
Additionally, businesses in Nairobi County will have no charges for inspection and acquiring a compliance permit.
The minute the establishment has presented their papers to the Nairobi County or to counties for their compliance certificate, it will take 24 hours for this to be processed. So there's no delay and there'll be no cost.
Balala, however, said the reopening does not include the accommodation sector.
Vyumba vya kulala mpaka saa hizi hamna ruhusa. Kwa hivyo tumekubaliana kuwa nidhamu hili lazima ifuatwe, na nidhamu vipi watashirikiana na ma-counties na kutocheleweshwa kwa nidhamu hii kutekelezwa.
The sector is still reeling from the effects of COVID-19 pandemic, with restaurants that have complied with the regulations still suffering low returns due to less clients. Suleiman Yeri, Channel 1 News.
Now, the COVID-19 pandemic has altered family life, with parents having to navigate through challenges brought about by school closure, working from home, and social distancing. And as families try their best to cope, we share tips on how to care for children who are now making do with homeschooling.
To the next age group, these are children now who are school-going children. They are now from class 1 going onwards. Children who can follow rules, who can be explained to. Children who still need structure in their day. And these are children who are used to going to school, to learning, and so they are finding with this new environment where they are being told to stay at home, they are a bit confused. They don't know when they are going to see their friends, they don't know when they are going to go back to school and be with their teachers. So parents, once again, talk to your children. For children, all age groups of children, if they need to see a doctor, we are encouraging parents, please do not stay with a sick child at home. It's more dangerous. As the Ministry of Health, we've put measures in place to screen people even from the entrance of public facilities, and more private facilities are also taking this up so that we limit transmission of any person who has suspected COVID to somebody who doesn't have. So our facilities are quite safe for everyone to visit if they so require. Children at this age group can take in stress and they can actually be depressed. Remember, you've removed them from their normal day-to-day activity, which is school, home, school, home. So for these children, there's a very high risk that they could actually get depressed. So parents, be in touch with your children, continue talking with your children, limit for all children, please limit the information that comes through them from our screens, from our radios, from our computer. Children see things and they interpret them, and especially when there's no one to guide them on what is happening, they will interpret them in a very negative way and it will affect them mentally. These are children who can stay in the house, but they are also able to open a door and quickly rush outside to go meet with their friends. So sit down with them and explain to them why this is not allowed, to meet with their friends or to go to the neighborhood homes. We are facing a crisis where we have some parents who are used to their children going to school so that they can go and do their daily normal work. So these children are being left in the homes alone, and there could be cases of children getting hurt or injured if there is no proper guidance. So for caregivers who really need to go and leave young children at homes, please ensure there's somebody who's watching over them. Never leave young children alone.
Some tips to help you cope with the pandemic. You are watching Channel 1 News Hour. We are taking a short commercial break, but when we come back, we have a new sheriff in town. I'll be coming with the details, of course. Thank you, Ochieng Regan, watching from Waithaka, Nairobi, Pastor Paul from Nakuru Free Area, Amos Kaisa from Kisii, Virginia, Kangonga from Kangoya. Thank you so much. Definitely keep them coming. We'll be right back. See you on the other side.
Found out that my father is in Patliputra.
How did you get to know about
Acharya
it?
Chanakya told me, but he is not telling me who.
They killed your grandfather, and they set your hut on fire.
I've learned how to please the authority in order to use the power in my favor.
Acharya Chanakya cannot hide the truth in front of Emperor Bindusar.
Do you know who my father is?
Yes.
I must tell the truth to His Highness.
Welcome back. It's always a pleasure having you on board. Well, moving on, General Robert Kibochi has formally taken charge as Chief of the Kenya Defence Forces. General Kibochi took oath of office at State House, Nairobi, in a ceremony witnessed by President Uhuru Kenyatta. He replaces General Samson Mwathethe, who retired after serving for 5 years.
I, Robert Kariuki Kibochi, Chief of the Kenya Defence Forces, do swear in the name of the Almighty.
General Robert Kibochi, who previously served as the Vice Chief of the Kenya Defence Forces, has begun his term in office as Chief of the Kenya Defence Forces on Monday. President Uhuru Kenyatta, who witnessed his swearing-in at State House, commended the KDF for upholding merit and professionalism, which have in turn enabled the institution to have a predictable and stable career management system for its officers, servicemen and women.
I commend you, Waziri, and your Ministry of Defense team for ensuring a seamless transition. And I believe that this signals our maturity in our governance credentials and a strong belief in civil transfer of power as has been envisioned by our Constitution. It also, I believe, too, underscores the value of established rules and procedures. In the KDF, a tradition has been established where merit and professionalism combine to produce a predictable and stable career management system for all its officers, servicemen, and women. And I congratulate you all for this and urge you to continue preserving these very strong credentials.
The head of state exuded confidence that with commitment and determination, the new military top brass led by General Kibochi will protect and defend the territorial integrity of Kenya, even as the country deals with modern security challenges and other natural occurrences.
Joining your colleagues in the Air Force and the Army, taking the mantle of leadership at the KDF at a time when the country, our region, and the world is confronted by a number of threats and risks. And apart from those that we are used to, such as terrorist threats, we are also confronted with COVID-19, we have floods, we also have locust invasions, amongst others.
President Kenyatta at the same time thanked General Kibochi's predecessor, General Samson Mwathethe, for his exemplary service, lauding his selflessness, loyalty and dedication.
Asante, General Mwathethe, and to you, General Kibochi, Levi Mugala, General Mutai, tuende kazi.
And as part of their contribution to the national fight against coronavirus, Kenya Defence Forces donated 102 million shillings to the Kenya COVID-19 Fund, money raised from voluntary salary cuts within the military. Betty Kiptum, Channel 1 News.
And the Ministry of ICT now says the 2021 budget shortfall of 40 billion shillings may hamper the implementation of projects and programs under the Big Four agenda. ICT Principal Secretary Jerome Ochieng says the ministry had planned to facilitate internet connectivity to a number of level 4 and 5 hospitals under the universal health coverage. However, the State Department will only be able to facilitate connectivity to a few hospitals given the budget cuts.
ICT Principal Secretary Jerome Ochieng, who presented the ministry's 2021 budget estimates to Parliament, said the under-provision will negatively impact on the Konzo project, Ajira program and the county connectivity project, as well as Studio Mashinani.
Under the digital literacy program, I would just want to again also look at the requirement against allocation We had a requirement of 1.5 billion against an allocation of 800 million. Then what we are saying is that this shortfall in the budget will affect the implementation of the second phase of the DLP program.
The PS told MPs that as a result of the budgetary shortfall, the ministry is likely to accumulate pending bills and also cancel contracts with suppliers of goods under the centralized ICT procurement.
Under the UHC program, we had a requirement of 1.3 billion, but 409 million was allocated. Then that means that the budget cut for this financial year will lead to carryover of pending bills to the new financial year because a lot of this contract has already been signed. The allocated fund will not be sufficient to connect the remaining hospitals that we had already planned.
ICT committee has in the meantime said it will push to have the national broadcaster KBC allocated more money to help in sensitizing the public on the COVID-19 pandemic.
You know, as the chairman, I cannot just decide, but we'll meet as a committee and agree. And we'll also talk to the ministry and the CEO of KBC so that they can tell us, because he has told us they're spending over 300 million every month that is not supported by the exchequer. So you can see if we had enough resources, we would give them the 300 million every month. But I know we don't have that money. Even if we get $1 million every month, it will do. It will assist them.
To some conservation matters now, and a family in Ziwa, Uasin Gishu County, wants a Chinese road construction company prosecuted for polluting its only source of water and destroying its farm. Thomas Bett says the construction company is discharging effluent to a river that serves over 100 households. And a number of livestock have also died in the area from chemicals being used by the farm. Bett says efforts to seek the intervention of the National Environment Management Authority, NEMA, in Eldoret have been futile and wants action taken against the farm and the site be closed. This is the evidence of the destruction meted on the environment by the Chinese road construction company undertaking works in the area. Thomas Bett, who welcomed the company as a good gesture, is now regretting the destruction that has been undertaken by the company on his 7-acre farm.
Hapa walijimba septic tank ya chafu yote kuingia hapa, lakini walipochimba wakajenga na matofari na ujenzi yao ikakuwa ni duni, lakini juu yake hawakuweka slab, wakaweka miti juu yake. Sasa imecollapse.
Bett said the farm, instead of constructing a secure sewage system, decided to channel raw affluent to a nearby swamp, which is a major source of water in the area. The company, according to Bett, brought down trees valued at over 10 million shillings that it used to construct a perimeter wall on a number of dwellings already condemned by the Ministry of Planning, and a number of dairy cows have died from drinking the polluted water.
Sasa tunahofia sasa, apart from kupata COVID-19, tunaweza pata cholera. Kipindupindu inaweza amuka hapa, ile kali sana. Hata majirani hapa pia wote wanaweza umia.
Efforts to seek redress from the National Environment Management Authority in Eldoret town has not been successful. Bett is now seeking the intervention of authorities to have the site closed and proper modalities be put in place to address the impact of the destruction, and he be fully compensated for the losses he had incurred in place.
Wanaweza toroka waniwajie hiyo vitu, na vitu hiyo haitanisaidia, na kwanza sitapata hao watu sababu kuna agreement uliandika na hao watu, na hiyo agreement si agreement kwa sababu hawajaweka signature, ni agreement bure na karatasi tu bure, hawajaweka signature, kumaanisha wako tayari kutoroka na waniambie atukujui.
The company, he says, has been playing a cat-mouse game by trying to change names every month to avoid liabilities. For Channel 1 News, I'm Ben Troy Njue. And about 20,000 artists, actors and musicians are expected to benefit from the 100 million shilling stimulus package aimed at cushioning them during the coronavirus pandemic period. Apart from receiving the stipends, players in the creative industry will also be incorporated in educating Kenyans on the precautionary measures out in place to stop the spread of the novel coronavirus.
After the launch of the Work for Pay 100 million shillings stimulus package,
Artists from different creative sectors are now required to engage in strategic messaging on behavior change to help flatten the coronavirus transmission curve.
This is going to be a program, a pay-for-work program, where artists will work and they will be paid for the work that they produce, right? For the artistic ingenuity. We're hoping that most of the messaging and most of the innovation will go towards addressing some of the challenges we are facing with the COVID-19, but also passing the messages of government.
Sports and Culture Cabinet Secretary Amina Mohamed, while launching the program, called for prudence in selection of the campaign programs to ensure all groups benefit.
The range of programs should ensure that there is gender equity and that artists from across the 47 counties are represented, 30% of whom will be vulnerable groups and persons living with disabilities.
With an estimate of 100,000 artists in the country, the government says giving handouts would have been an ineffective venture.
Given the above scenario, the ministry has adopted a work for pay model, where money will be paid against the production of works geared towards promoting COVID-19 creative community education.
They will have to take the issue of the creative economy extremely seriously. We are talking about millions and millions of young Kenyans who have now committed to the business of content creation on the new platforms beyond the traditional platforms of TV and radio.
The implementation for the program, that will take 3 months, will be supervised by 5 government agencies, namely the Department of Culture, Kenya Cultural Center, National Museums of Kenya, Kenya Film Commission, and Permanent Presidential Music Commission, to ease the criteria for engagement among the various creative groups. The Sports and Culture Ministry says it will continue teaming up with players in the sector to tap new talents.
61% of artists are not registered, right? I mean, that's really interesting, that the majority of our artists are actually not registered. And hence the reason for us, coming up with this plan for a waiver. Yeah? If it's about the resources, then we're waiving them. Let's see how many we can attract.
Kamchi Menza for Channel 1 News.
Definitely some encouraging news for the entertainment industry. From the entertainment industry to the corridors of justice, where the High Court has barred the Speaker of the Senate from ousting Senator Ledama Olekina as chairman of the powerful Senate County Public Accounts and Investment Committee. High Court Judge Weldon Korir further certified the matter as urgent in the case filed by Olekina, challenging his removal from the influential position. Through lawyer Nelson Harvey, Narok County Senator Ledama Olekina went to court to challenge his ouster as chair of the Senate County Public Accounts and Investment Committee days after he was elected. Siaya Senator and Senate Minority Leader James Orengo wrote to the Speaker of the Senate, Kenneth Lusaka, seeking to have Ledama removed from the committee and the Senate Business Committee. The case will be mentioned on May the 14th. Elsewhere, Kenya Ports Authority Finance Manager Patrick Wambogo Nyoike has denied 5 graft charges after being charged with the alleged 214.5 million shillings port fraud. Nyoike was arraigned in a Mombasa court on Monday and charged alongside clerical officer Isaac Obunga. He was, however, released on a 2 million shillings cash bail with an alternative of 5 million shillings bond.
Because of the lockdown in Nairobi and accessing Mombasa, it would be easier for the DPP to be the one presenting the accused persons to court.
The Director of Public Prosecution had ordered that Nyoike be charged alongside his wife Jacinta Wambogo and his brother Alfred Hinga, who are directors of Nyali Capital Limited, NCL. The DPP said NCL is the company that received the payment of 214.5 million shillings after Nyoike facilitated the inclusion of the company as a supplier for Kenya Ports Authority. And the government has analyzed 5 prototypes of locally developed ventilators in an initiative expected to combat the coronavirus pandemic. The Industrialization Cabinet Secretary Betty Maina says the ministry will support local initiatives to produce personal protective equipment for frontline staff and medical gadgets that will boost the fight against the pandemic.
Dedan Kimathi University of Technology now joins the list of researchers working round the clock in developing ventilators set to undergo certification before being availed in hospitals to boost the fight against COVID-19. The university, in collaboration with the Laikipia County Government, presented the prototype to the Industrialization Ministry for review.
We now have about 5 potential prototypes in the country for ventilators, which is exciting for us as a country that we can venture into this new field in a very, very short time. And government is very excited by this, and also giving all the necessary support to the industry to be able to produce.
Dedan Kimathi University Deputy Vice Chancellor Professor Ndirango Kioni said local production of ventilators will enhance the survival chances of patients in critical condition.
What we are engaged in is an industrial process, and that means that we have to have many different players. We have to get the materials, different materials. Some of them are available in the country, others are not available in the country. So for the time being, we have to import. But we are also exploring how we can increase our capacity in the country to manufacture what we are currently importing.
The two institutions have already agreed on the basic standards for ventilators with the Kenya Bureau of Standards and Kenya Poisons and Pharmacy Board.
We've committed that once they finalize the ventilator, the county government will actually purchase 10 of the ventilators that they will produce. Number 2, we've already committed ourselves as a county government to co-fund the research and the development of whatever ventilator that will come up with in conjunction with Dedan Kimathi.
Ben Chumba, reporting for Channel 1 News.
The Kenya Forest Service has begun an ambitious tree planting exercise at Poro area in Samburu County that targets to plant over 15,000 trees. Kenya Forest Service National Enforcement Commandant Alex Lemakoko initiated the drive with over 1,000 trees already planted in forest, public institutions and homes to increase forest cover.
More than 1,000 tree seedlings have been planted in Poro, Samburu County, taking advantage of the ongoing long rains, while leading a multi-agency security team, community, university students and residents to increase the country's forest cover. KFS Enforcement Commandant Alex Lemakoko requested people who are still living in government's Kirisia forest to move out on their own volition for the benefit of the future generations. Elsewhere, Taita Taveta business community through county COVID-19 resource mobilization team have expressed fears of the spread of coronavirus in the county, a day after the county government reported one positive case of a truck driver who was traveling to Mombasa County from neighboring Uganda. This even as the truck drivers have allegedly devised new methods of transporting passengers, thus putting many counties at risk of registering new case of the virus.
Kuna hiyo kesi moja ya huyo truck driver ambayo imekuwa confirmed. Na hiyo inamaanisha kwamba now we have to be more vigilant. We have to be more careful.
Meanwhile, drama unfolded Monday morning in Mudhambi location Mara sub-county, Tharaka Nithi County, after irate youth burnt a house and car worth millions of shillings in what is suspected as a revenge mission. Mudhambi location chief Alfred Munene said that youths from Weru village were angered after one of them was assaulted and died while undergoing treatment in what is believed to be a family feud.
Watu wa eneo la Kabinga vijana walitiwa na amati wakakuja leo asubuhi wakatoka mapema sana kwa zile hasira hati mmoja wao ameuawa.
And over 300 elderly and disabled families in Kitui South had a reason to smile after they received food donation from the area legislator Rachel Nyamai to cushion them in the wake of COVID-19 scourge. The residents say that putting food on the table for their families had become a challenge ever since the country started battling with COVID-19.
Mimi nilikuwa nafanya kibarua ni kwa sababu ya hiyo ugonjwa wa corona. Wakati ilipokuja mimi nilikuwa nachanganyikiwa. Ni kwa sababu niko na watoto wengi, niko na watoto 10.
In another development, Narok County Security Team on Monday received donation of sanitizers and masks from officials from Kenya Union of Civil Servants. National Deputy Secretary General Jerry Olekina revealed that the security officers are mostly exposed when they are trying to make sure Kenyans follow the government directive.
Let us all fight together. Let us be victorious, because we shall be if we are ready to listen.
Finally, residents of Changamwe Sub-County, Mombasa County are up in arms on what they claim as the selective distribution of food donation in the area. The county government of Mombasa had taken initiative to cushion its residents with food supplies during the fight against COVID-19 pandemic. Residents living in slum areas of Bokole, Mlolongo, Dunga, Unuse, Lilongwe and Matangini claim they gave out their names so as to benefit from the food donations, but their names were plucked out.
Identification of beneficiaries by the wazee wa mtaa and the nyumba kumi was full of corruption, nepotism.
Na saa hii janga ya corona haina tajiri wala maskini, kila mtu ana njaa, kila mtu ana pesa, afanyi biashara.
Reporting for Channel 1 News, I'm Timothy Kipnusu.
We are taking another short, quick break, but when we come back, I will be telling you why, despite the long rains, the retail prices of milk will not change. On the other side of the
Education is key. Education. To develop a nation. Education. Giving every lad the material for learning. KICD. Every stage from ECD. KICD. Shule ya msingi na ya upili. KICD. Mahitaji maalum na waalimu. KICD. For your curriculum. KICD.
The Kenya Institute of Curriculum Development, nurturing every learner's potential.
Coronavirus COVID-19 is a respiratory virus spreading across the world. The infection is spread from droplets of coughing and sneezing of an infected person, touching or shaking hands, or being in contact with contaminated surfaces or objects with the virus. The signs and symptoms are fever, coughing, headache, body ache, difficulty in breathing. The disease can be prevented by regularly washing hands with soap and running water. Avoid close contact with people who have flu-like symptoms. Avoid handshake, hugs, and kissing. Also, protect yourself by covering your mouth or nose using a disposable tissue while coughing or sneezing. If you experience these symptoms and you had traveled or been in contact with a person from a country reporting COVID-19, you should isolate yourself for 14 days. Dial *719# or call 719. This message has been brought to you by the Government of Kenya and its partners.
Welcome back. Well, retail prices of milk will not change even with the expected increase in production during the current long rains. Livestock Principal Secretary Harry Kimutai says despite increased production, reduced imports from neighboring countries due to the COVID-19 pandemic will destabilize milk prices in the country.
With the current long rains being experienced in many parts of the country, the dairy board projects a bumper milk harvest this season. The government has moved in to assure dairy farmers that there are enough funds to mop up and process excess milk in the country to stabilize milk farm gate prices. Even with increased production, retail milk prices will continue to retail at an average of 50 shillings per half a litre due to reduced dairy products imports as COVID-19 pandemic continues to bite.
Now these challenges of COVID, I'm sure even some of the milk coming from outside the country has reduced. So whatever that is being produced locally will therefore be consumed locally, be processed and consumed locally. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we don't expect the prices to fall despite the fact that we are having good rains for milk production to increase.
Livestock Principal Secretary Harry Kimtai attributes the delay in legalizing and implementing the dairy sector regulations to the coronavirus pandemic. He, however, says some of the contentious issues surrounding the selling of raw milk have been ironed out with stakeholders, but maintains that all commercial milk vendors will have to register with the Dairy Board for safety standards purposes.
We want to make sure that even if they are selling through the whatever, we want to ensure that they are known, they are registered, and they must give evidence that the milk they are selling is safe. So there are conditions which Dairy Board wants to give.
Kimtai disputed claims that the regulations, among other things, prohibited the selling of raw milk, saying farmers will still be allowed to sell raw milk in small quantities. Ben Troy Njue reporting for Channel 1 Business.
And a vessel from one of the largest global shipping line has made her call on the port of Mombasa in what Kenya Ports Authority Head of Container Operations, Edward Opio, terms as a statement that international trade will pick up in the coming weeks as countries ease travel restriction. Here is Ben Troy Njue with that report.
Since the COVID-19 was declared a global pandemic, there have been reduced activities at the port of Mombasa due to restrictions imposed by countries to contain the spread of the virus. Things are, however, looking up after a vessel from one of the largest shipping lines making her maiden trip to Africa docked at the port of Mombasa. The ship sailing under the flag of Cyprus was hired by CMA SGM French company that is seeking to expand its operations in Kenya. While receiving the ship, Kenya Ports Authority Head of Container Operations Edward Opio said the maiden voyage into the port underlined Kenya's position as a gateway to the East and Central African region.
Processes at ICD has improved tremendously. The congestion that was there in the beginning is no longer there, and the customers are getting even more and improved services. And therefore, we have realized that 90%, because this has been a marketing tool, the ex-sucralage for the shipping lines.
It says cargo from China has increased, with containers from the Far East nation accounting for 60% of the total cargo arrivals at the port of Mombasa.
And we are seeing the ports of China, which carries more than 60% of our imports and that's coming through the port of Mombasa, are now opening up their ports. And now we are seeing a market increase in the volumes that are calling at the port of Mombasa.
To reduce human contact at the facility, the Kenya Ports Authority has automated more cargo clearance services. Ben Troy Njue reporting for Channel 1 Business.
Well, movement restrictions imposed to contain the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic has forced photographers and curio sellers at the iconic Thompson Falls in Nyahururu, Laikipia County to devise new ways to survive. And Betty Kiptum narrates, even though some have opted to embrace e-commerce to sell their wares, a majority are appealing for a stimulus package from the county or national government to help them meet their basic needs in the face of reduced income.
The waterfalls is located southeast of Nyahururu town, overlooking Olengare Narok River at the basement of the renowned Aberdare Ranges that form one of the pillars of the Great Rift Valley. Thompson Falls roars in its might, the beauty of the landscape around it ever serene. But something is different. There are very few eyes to marvel at its beauty. The travel restrictions, coupled with stay-at-home orders, have seen only few locals make it to the falls.
Tangu nilipokuja Thompson Falls, sijawahi ona wakati mgumu kama huu. Umekuwa ni wakati mzito sana, renti hazilipiki. Ukiangalia utaona watalii hawakuji. Hii changamoto imekuwa kubwa sana.
Inafika pahali hata sisi tunaadhirika, hata saa ingine unakuja una shida hapa. Hata kupata shilingi 200 inakuwa ni shida.
These viewing points would be full of local and international tourists taking photos and purchasing souvenirs from these curio shops. But now, all the business owners can do is dust off the wares, hoping for a reopening soon.
Tupatie chakula, hata kama ni Nyahururu, Laikipia, kitu kidogo. Hata kama ni gavana, wasikane na serikali kubwa ya Uhuru.
The Thompson Falls attracts thousands of foreign and local visitors and nature lovers who flock the area. Betty Kiptum, Channel 1 Business.
And further afield, Saudi Arabia is tripling its value-added taxes, part of austerity measures to support its coronavirus-hit economy. The government in Riyadh has also said it will suspend its cost of living allowance to shore up state finances. Here are the details of this and more stories in the International Business News Roundup.
Oil-rich Saudi Arabia has seen its income plummet as the impact of the coronavirus pandemic has forced down global energy prices. The kingdom first introduced VAT 2 years ago as part of its efforts to cut its reliance on crude oil. Saudi Arabia's state news agency said VAT will increase from 5% to 15% from 1st of July, while the cost of living allowance will be suspended from the 1st of June. The allowance of $267 per month to state employees was introduced in 2018 to help offset increased financial burdens, including VAT and a rise in the price of petrol. The latest announcement came after state spending outstripped income, pushing the kingdom into a $9 billion budget deficit in the first 3 months of the year. Elsewhere, Mogao Grottoes, a well-known UNESCO World Heritage Site in Den Haag, northwest China, Gansu Province, has reopened to the public, ending more than 3 months of suspension due to the COVID-19 outbreak. However, tourists are being checked their body temperatures before assessing the scenic spot and keeping social distance of 1.5 meters during their tours. A day limit of 1,800 visitors has been set, accounting for 30% of the capacity of the scenic spot. 26 caves have been opened, even though some parts such as Digital Exhibition Center and venues for preserving Buddhist sutra remain closed. And in the United Kingdom, the spread of the COVID-19 pandemic across the world has severely affected UK farming industry in many ways. But Labour is the most affected as coronavirus keeps Eastern European workers away from the farms. Migrant workers are the backbone of the UK agriculture force. Statistics show that in recent years, British firms have recruited 70,000 to 80,000 migrant workers from Eastern Europe on a yearly basis to harvest crops and process food. The shortage of labour could mean millions of tons of produce going to waste. The coronavirus had added extra financial pressure on the farming industry in the UK, as businesses have to comply with government measures such as social distancing and supplying their employees with masks and other personal protective gears. Fiona Shuru, Channel 1 Business News.
Time to play now, and former Mr. Kenya Bodybuilding Championship winner Gabriel Mukundi has been handed a 2-year ban for doping by the National Anti-Doping Agency, ADAC. The bodybuilder who won the 2018 championship tested positive for stanozol, a prohibited substance found in his urine sample obtained during the Mr. and Miss Kenya Championships held November 2018. Following the ban, Mukundi, who has competed in a total of 13 competitions, including 1 international championship, relinquishes his Mr. Kenya title to George Ochieng, who finished second at the 2018 championship. Mukundi joins 4 other bodybuilders serving suspensions of diverse durations handed to them by ADAC in the last 4 years.